Throughout history, humanity has been defined not by ease but by adversity. It is in the face of challenges that our true nature is revealed. The Stoics understood this well. They did not seek to eliminate hardship but to transform it, turning obstacles into opportunities, pain into wisdom, and struggle into strength. They believed that nothing truly good or bad happens to us, only our perception makes it so. A challenge is not inherently an obstacle, it is an invitation to grow. The universe does not conspire against us, nor does it owe us anything. It simply is, and it is up to us to shape our response to it. The ancient Stoics, from Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus and Seneca, did not live in comfort. They faced war, exile, betrayal, and loss. Yet they saw these trials not as curses, but as the forge that shaped them into something greater. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, ruled during plagues and wars, yet he did not complain. Instead, he wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very thing that seems to block us is, in fact, the path forward. The obstacles in our lives are not detours from our journey, they are the journey. The challenges we face are not roadblocks but stepping stones to wisdom, strength, and greatness. It is easy to look at hardship and see only misfortune. When we lose a job, when we experience failure, when people betray us, our first instinct is often to resist, to complain, to ask, "Why me?" But what if we saw these difficulties differently? What if, instead of seeing a loss as something taken from us, we saw it as space being cleared for something better? What if every hardship was a lesson in disguise, waiting for us to uncover its wisdom? A Stoic does not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" A Stoic asks, "How can I use this?" One of the greatest lessons of Stoicism is that it is not external events that determine our fate, but how we respond to them. Imagine two people who lose their jobs. One falls into despair, blaming the world, convinced that life is unfair. The other sees it as a new beginning, an opportunity to build something greater, to reinvent themselves, to pursue long-neglected dreams. The difference between them is not luck or circumstance, it is mindset. Epictetus, once a slave who became one of the greatest philosophers of his time, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He endured suffering, injustice, and hardship, but he never saw himself as a victim. Instead, he saw every difficulty as an opportunity to strengthen his character. He understood that while he could not control external events, he could always control his response. If a man who was born into slavery could turn adversity into wisdom, what excuse do we have? Nature itself teaches us this lesson. Consider a river flowing toward the sea. When it encounters a rock, does it stop? No. It finds a way flowing over, around, or even through it. Water does not complain about obstacles, it adapts and keeps moving forward. We, too, must learn to persist, to adjust, to turn obstacles into opportunities. Resistance is what strengthens us. Just as the body grows stronger through physical exertion, the mind and spirit grow stronger through adversity. This principle is not limited to philosophy, it is a mindset that has shaped some of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and creators throughout history. Think of Thomas Edison, who conducted over 1,000 failed experiments before inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he did not complain. Instead, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This is Stoicism in action, seeing failure not as an end, but as part of the journey. The same is true for every great leader, athlete, artist, and thinker. Muhammad Ali was once told he wasn't good enough. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. J.K. Rowling faced rejection after rejection before publishing Harry Potter. They all had obstacles, but they used them as fuel. They did not see adversity as an excuse to give up, they saw it as a reason to push forward. The greatest achievements in history did not arise from perfect conditions, but from relentless perseverance in the face of difficulty. We often believe that happiness comes from a life free of difficulty. But true happiness, the Stoics argue, is not found in avoiding hardship, but in mastering our response to it. Life will never be free of suffering. We will lose people we love. We will face rejection. We will struggle. But these are not things to be feared. They are the raw materials from which greatness is made. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Every challenge is an opportunity to practice patience, courage, and wisdom. When we are wronged, we can practice forgiveness. When we fail, we can practice humility and perseverance. When we experience loss, we can practice gratitude for what we had and resilience for what is to come. Every situation in life is an opportunity to practice virtue. And if we embrace this truth, we will never feel like victims again. To live a truly stoic life is to live without fear of obstacles. It is to recognize that hardship is not something to be avoided but something to be embraced. It is to understand that we are not entitled to an easy life, but we are always capable of building a meaningful one. The only true failure is to shrink in the face of challenge, to allow hardship to break us instead of build us. When we see life through a stoic lens, we realize that nothing is ever truly lost. Everything is an opportunity to become something greater. There is an old story of a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors came and said, "What bad luck." The farmer simply replied, "Maybe." A few days later, the horse returned with a dozen wild horses. The neighbors rejoiced, "What great fortune." Again, the farmer said, "Maybe." Later, the farmer's son was thrown from one of the wild horses and broke his leg. The neighbors shook their heads, saying, "What a terrible thing." The farmer, as always, said maybe. Soon after, war broke out, and all able-bodied young men were called to fight. But the farmer's son, with his broken leg, was spared. The lesson is clear: we never truly know if something is good or bad. Life is unpredictable. What seems like a disaster today may turn out to be a blessing tomorrow. So the next time you face adversity, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? How can I use this challenge to become stronger? The greatest victories are not won in comfort, but in the crucible of struggle. We do not rise despite challenges, we rise because of them. We are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond. The obstacle is not in the way. The obstacle is the way.